Hi everybody, welcome. Today in Raw Relationships I want to talk about working down the layers. Now every relationship's got layers in it, whether it's your mum, dad, family, other family members, it can be your friends as well. But in this particular relationship, the layers are very important because you're living so closely together. You might not even be living in the same house, but you're still living closely together. The layers refer to the fact that when we first meet someone, we meet them on that first layer. Like we get to know them on that first layer, and then as we go to meet them more and more, that we start going down the layers. And we will keep going down those layers, getting to know them, getting to know them, getting to know them like that. And that's a good thing that we're getting to know them. I mean, our feeling about them will probably be either growing love or just love, and that will support us as we go down the layers. However, as we go down the layers, we're going to find out different things about the person, and they will find out different things about us. And that's where the challenges really come, because you love this person now, and you've decided you want to spend a lot of time with them and your life with them. Then you start to go down the layers, and maybe in layer 1, 2, 3, everything's going really well. You haven't sort of hit any hard layers yet, and it's all smooth and nice and wonderful. Then you get to layer 4, something comes up in that layer, you learn something about that person, or they learn something about you that they either didn't expect, or it's a new insight, and now it causes a little bit of friction, or it can actually make the relationship wobble and become a little rocky. Now these layers, you probably won't know when you're going to hit the next one down, but I'm telling you, you will do that. You will get to places in your relationship where you get to this part and you're like, I don't know you like I thought I did. I know this extra part of you now, and I'm not too sure whether I like this extra part, or whether this extra part with you and me actually fits. And your partner will be doing the same. They'll learn something more about you, something they didn't know on that layer, and then they'll have to do two things. They either have to accept and adjust to it, or there will be a problem in that layer. You can't really avoid it. It's going to happen because we are so multifaceted as people, and we're so complicated. We've got so many different parts of us, and we won't probably be showing ourselves completely when we first meet. We'll be showing all the best parts of ourselves, but we'll also be only on those first few layers of connection. This doesn't mean we don't have a strong connection with the person. We can have meet them and have this really incredible connection. That's something different. The layers are the getting to know you layers. The layers are, who are you now? I'm on layer 5, 6, 7. The more time you spend with the person, the quicker you seem to go down the layers. Some people are very transparent as well, and so as you're starting to move down to get to know them, they'll be particularly honest, and you will get to know parts of them very, very quickly and quite easily. Other people will hide a little bit, and they'll hide some of the layers. You might get to maybe you get to the prejudice layer, or the cranky layer, or the moody layer. And when you get to that layer, then they might try not to own it and not take responsibility for it, or hide it, or avoid talking about it. And that's where you'll also get into trouble. You're not the same people. You maybe have a lot of things that work in the relationship, but you're not the same people, and you come out of completely different environments. You're genetically different, and who you actually are as a person, your personality will be different. So the layers are something to be worked with. When you come across a difficult layer where you're not getting on and you can feel there's a shift, you have to really address what's in that layer. Whether it's you found out that you thought they were more generous than they are, and now you're realising they're a bit tight really, or you found out that you thought they were a little bit more tolerant than they are and you find them intolerant, or perhaps you find out that as you've got to, say, level 5, that they're not patient. They're as patient as you thought they were, and they're actually quite an impatient person in their actual nature. They can be patient, but their nature is to be impatient. You might find out they're also lazy. You thought they were more active and doing things, but once you've got to know them, you realise they're a little bit lazy. There's lots of things you can find out as you go down the layers about them, and of course they're going to be finding out about you. When you both hit a difficult layer, it's harder. If it's just one of you struggling, one partner struggling with one, it's hard. But when there's two of you struggling, that becomes much more difficult, much more challenging. I think you should just work through the layers. That's the best way, because eventually you'll find a way to encompass it into your relationship, absorb it, maybe change it. Maybe the person has to make some changes. Maybe you have to make some changes to be in the relationship. Maybe you have to adapt. It's not something that you can avoid, because the more you get to know them, you're just going to go down there, down there, down there, down there. Sometimes you also can't know what's happening in the layers because you're insular, like you're just in the relationship. And it's only once you start being more social and seeing their family and being maybe with their work people, you see another side of that person. It's not really another side, it's who they really are. It's just you didn't hit that layer yet. And you'll find that the layers will affect how you see them, because now you had like an idea of what they were like, and you're on layer 5 and you're thinking they're not really like that. They can be like that, but they're mostly inherently not like that. And then you have to adapt to that and either accept it or find a way to work around it. Sometimes people are shocked by the insights they have and what they find out on the layers, and you might need to allow yourself some time to get used to it, really, because it's like, oh, I didn't really know I bought that package with that in it, but you have. And if you love the person, you could find ways around it. There are also certain things that will be triggered in certain layers. So if you're going down there and you're in level 5 with them and they with you, and then some family crisis happens, that can trigger that layer as well. So be very aware of that. If we've had damage also from different things in our life, that will come up through the layers. So our trust issues, our safety issues, our bandwidth issues, all of those are kind of embedded as we're going down, and they can actually start to surface, and you'll need to actually deal with them if you want to stay together. I think it's worth fighting your way through the layers, because you have a good relationship, you love each other, there's a lot of good things that are working, you want to stay with each other. Therefore, all you have to do is try and find a way to make this layer work. Once you've done the work on the layer and how you're going to work with it, and the strategies you're going to use so that you can now cope with it, then you will actually go deeper down. Because the thing is, when you work together to fix something, you will get another depth into your relationship, and then you'll go down to the next layer. Working on the hard layers will come sometimes at times when you don't expect it. Everything's going really well and seem to come from left field, really. You didn't see that coming and it just came. And you found out something about the person that you weren't so aware of, or it wasn't in your idea of what they were like, and they would do the same with you. However, we're also ever changing. We can hit a layer where the person is really struggling and we're having trouble with that layer, but it's also part of their past. So you might hit something which is just the past, especially with the trust stuff. So be aware of that. If they've been betrayed before, if they come from a damaged childhood, you might just get to a layer where it's kind of in that layer, the damage and the trust issues, and then you just work around them and fix them up in your life, in your relationship life. Relationships are hard work sometimes, especially when you hit these, and people don't understand. They think maybe they made a mistake, or they didn't really know the person at the beginning and maybe they should have known them more, but it's not like that. It's like an unveiling, and as you become closer and closer, more of you is revealed, and this is just normal, and it's happening, but people don't realise it's happening, that we're actually going down the layers and hitting difficult ones. I think you should try and hang in there if you want to stay there and see if you can work through it, because the next few layers might be fine. Sometimes we find fabulous things in the layers too, things that we didn't know we had in that person or they didn't know was in us. And these can be wonderful things like incredible kindness and compassion, understanding and tolerance, Sometimes they're more gifted in some area than we ever realised that they were, and they bring a lot to the table. So the layers aren't always bad. They just can be difficult when they're the tricky ones. But they also bring them much loveliness and many treasures to the relationship. And as we get to know the person more and more, we can unveil some of their beauty as well, more of their beauty. So I ask you to keep patient with the layers when you get one. Work on it, see if you can work through it, because then you can get just down to the next one. And don't give up on your relationship when you hit them. It's normal to hit them. And during that time, you might find out during that time maybe your connection isn't as good because you're both getting used to the new information, because that's all it is. It's new information that you didn't know, and now you have to kind of adjust to it and access it and learn to live with it. Be kind to each other and loving to each other during the time when you're working through these different stages, because some of them can be very, very challenging, but that doesn't mean that you can't get through them. And that's what I want you to do. Try and see if you can see and recognize, oh, we've hit a layer here as we're going deeper into our relationship, and we just have to do some work around it. And you can get professional help if you need it. So that's what I think you should look at and always be aware of. That sometimes the problems in the relationship are just because we've hit a difficult layer, and that will pass, and then we'll move on and get deeper and deeper into our relationship, which is a great thing. So I'm sending you lots of love and lots of healing.